right, Feisties, welcome back. We missed out last week because a lot of things were going on last week, but we are back this week with Katie Zaferis, Joanne Murphy. I am Kelly O'Mara. This is the Feisty Triathlon Podcast, and today we have an interview with Dr. Iris Nafshi on her dissertation about Iron Moms. Not Ironman, Iron Moms. Which I felt like, Katie, you would have a lot of insight about being a mom and training.
It's hard.
And training. It's hard.
It's my main thought. Lots of grit. I think she talks about a lot of grit.
Yes. But we haven't checked in. How is the training going? How is Katie's getting back out there going?
Oh, Katie's getting back out there. I think it's a success. We had bad weather last week here, which means that North Carolina had snow and we shut down for like 2 weekends in a row, basically. But I got an alert on my watch that said it was my longest run ever on this watch, and it was 7.35K. So I'm proud of myself. I've been more days running than not, which is,
I'm impressed.
Do you like it or not when your watch like restarts itself and then you like everything's a PR?
I don't love it, but actually right now I'm just annoyed because I'm like, I know it's not a PR. Whereas like when I first got my watch, it was like, oh, it is one. So I do like the PR notices. Now I just rely on Training Peaks for it.
Wait until it tells you tomorrow that you've been unproductive.
Yeah. Oh, no, it gives me like these, like the workout options on it. And I'm not listening to them right now. Yeah. So in any way, like I run too fast for too short of time, but I need to be efficient.
Loving it, Katie.
Have you looked at
the win is that she got the running done though. That is the win.
Mm-hmm.
I ran home from our workout yesterday. Like
every
all of our athletes did the workout, and then I ran home from the park they did it at.
Perfect. So, have you seen the suggested workouts in Strava? That was what I was about to say. Like it'll give you like these suggested workouts now, based on what you've done before, and they're not terrible. But then it also gives you suggested routes, and those are kind of terrible. It suggested like 400 repeats the other day, and I was like, oh, okay. And I assumed it would tell me to go to the track that's like a mile from my house. It told me to do them like up and down this technical trail.
Did you do it?
Man. No, that sounded like a bad idea. All right, Joanne, and how is it going for you?
Well, I went to Lanzarote on my holidays. It's just like Kona. It's just not as humid or as hectic. I think that was my text to the group last week. It was fabulous. Family holiday. Got my long run in, my 15-kilometer run. It was the longest run I've done since Ironman 70.3 Mallorca in May of 2024. So I'm very proud of myself. And yeah, just had fun for the week. And today I did my first boot camp class. Circuit class in about, I'm going to say 10 years, but it's probably not that long, but it's definitely pre-COVID. So I don't expect to be able to tie my hair up tomorrow, probably brush my teeth and maybe walk around. But it was good fun. I loved it. Actually, it was good buzz. So yeah, I'm still on track. I have a little sneaky cycle up my sleeve that will be revealed in the coming weeks. And I literally just have weeks to train for it.
Secret plan, a secret goal, a secret race.
It's a secret race, but it's not a race.
Okay.
I'm participating, but it's not in Ireland. In fact, it's not even in Europe, and it's not in America. Where am I going?
Oh, well.
Now we're all
well, you'll find out soon enough because my training started today and the event is on in the first weekend of March. It's over 100K with over 1,200 meters of elevation. So I'm going to be training my big butt off for the next 4 weeks.
Everyone should send in their guesses,
yeah, I think so.
I feel like, about what Joanne is doing. Now I'm very curious. So we'll have to, people have to send in their guesses and we'll like.
Okay, cool. I'll keep you posted on my training.
We can play hotter, colder, getting warmer.
It'll be very warm where I'm going.
Oh, more clues.
Okay, that's it now. No more clues.
No more clues. And you didn't, in Lanzarote, you didn't run into all the pros using it as their training base? You weren't hanging out
No,
with them?
I was at the other side of the island. So I think Lucy was in Club La Santa, and I think Kat Matthews might have been in Club La Santa for a bit, and then she moved across to Costa de Gizzi, to another side of the island. But there's a few definite world champions heading to the island, possibly there already.
Do you stay in a sports resort?
I didn't, because I was with my family, but normally we would. I'd be over there with the gang, and we would stay where there's like a proper swimming pool and facilities, and hire a bike. The bike I got for the day was a High Nelly to cycle along the coast on the promenade, 45k return. This is great fun. Perfect. This all counts towards my cycle in March. But yeah, no, it was great though. The weather was good. It was good vibe. I could 100% move to the heat in Lanzarote.
Why does everyone go to Lanzarote? What is it?
It's about the winter sunshine. So the Canary Islands, for anybody living in Europe, and especially particularly in Ireland, it's a sun destination for people during the winter. So the Canary Islands, Fuerteventura, Lanzarote and Tenerife, and the Canaries, what's it called? Oh my God, the other island. There's another island there as well. Gran Canaria. That is it, Kelly. They are warm from all year round, whereas the Balearic Islands, Majorca, Menorca, and there's another one of them as well, they don't get warm and dry really until kind of end of March, April time. So anybody who's racing or wants to get away from the cold winter weathers here will travel to Lanzarote, but generally Lanzarote in particular. But there is good training.
We did Fuerteventura.
Yeah, I was going to say people do go to Fuerteventura as well. Yeah, it's really windy. Really, really windy. Yeah.
Fun fact, translates to strong winds, Fuerteventura.
And it's not that far from Lanzarote. No.
But I always thought, we always went there, and I didn't know if it was a lot because of like also the sports resorts there. It's like prime setup for elite athletes because of it's like there's a gym, there's a pool, there's usually like the food included. It's something that I really wish there was more of in the US.
Things like that over there, no?
No, this sounds like a whole thing that's just like very like set up for a certain clientele in Europe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have like bike storage under like a lot of the hotels, which to me is like that's the thing that makes it like super specific to triathletes and sports. Like when you have bike storage for
but not only do they have bike storage, but the Barcelo resort in particular has 2 bike shops actually at the resort. So you hire your bike. True. You can get all your gear, but they also, and I know there's another resort, Sands Beach, which has been there for a long, long time. And then there's obviously Club La Santa. They all are catering for people who want to get away on a training camp, either bring their families, not bring their families, come away with a club or a coach and just do your training for a week and then come home. You know, like the training that, and I'm sure you've seen that as well, Katie, the training you'll get done, the consistency, the routine, you're up early, you swim, you have your breakfast, you're out on your bike, you're back by 3 or 4 o'clock, you have a quick bite to eat or a quick run, and then it's your dinner, a beer and bed. And you cycle that for 6 days probably while you're there, maybe 5 depending on the travel day. But for a lot of people then to be able to fit that block of training in, it's just 1 week, when instead of like, it's a 5-hour ride on a Saturday and a Sunday for a month or whatever people are doing. But yeah, it's
interesting. I mean, there's certainly like places in the US, like obviously like there are certain resorts, and like I'm thinking of like Tucson and Patagonia and like the cycling house, and like they do like where we're running a gravel camp next week. Like there are obviously like specific locations, but not, a whole region.
Yeah, but it's only one part of the tourism of the islands as well, because you have people who don't even know what a triathlon is. They've probably never been on a bike in their lives, and they're literally over drinking beer.
Are also people.
They're just regular people.
There are also people in Kona during the second weekend of October who are like, one of my friends went on vacation and was like, what is happening? And I was like, oh, well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. It is cool.
Yeah. She was like, tickets were really cheap, like in the middle of the week. Yeah.
So you mentioned this.
All right, but we are. Well, I was gonna say we are getting out of this off season. Obviously, yes, there's a reason everybody's training because our race is coming up. I feel like we actually finally had a race weekend, sort of. Finally, maybe a little bit. There was the challenge. Joanna, are you gonna say it right? Challenge. Bar.
Oh gosh, the name has gone right out of my head.
Sir Bonnie Yacht.
That was it.
Sir Bonnie Yacht.
Yes.
It looked like they had to, and maybe I just got this from LA Salthouse. They had to take like a boat out there, a
I didn't
ship?
see that now, but I did see a military flyby. It looked like it was the Red Arrows, but I don't know whether the Red Arrows went all the way to where the race was on, but it was pretty cool. A flyby with the fighter jets. Well, the display jets, whatever they're called. That was very cool.
I do. I mean, I feel bad because there's like a lot of New Zealanders and Australians. I was about to say Australians. Who like for them it is like peak summer. They're ready to go, and so they are just like looking for races. But Katrine Christensen won, and Jonas Schomburg. So they're getting started. They're getting going.
But if we're going to talk about a race. Can we mention the crazy race? Now, I'm saying crazy because, well, I think, Katie, you said that Jess Learmonth said this was one of the toughest races she ever did. It was the Samla International 100K race. 6 stages, 12-hour cutoff, and it was absolutely crazy. Well, I tell you what.
Yeah, I never heard of this. Had you heard of this until Katie was telling? No, I never heard of this.
No, I saw the podium and I was like, wait, Rachel Klammer won and Jess Learmonth was second. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is this? And it's a 3K swim, 20K, 21K run, 22K mountain bike, 4K kayak, 22K mountain bike, and a 28K run. And I was like, I mean, it took 8 hours
over
to do
6
for the
days,
women.
Over the stages.
Over the stages, yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, but it has a really good prize purse.
Yeah. Right. I mean, Rachel won $50,000 and it paid 10 deep, which is interesting because, like you said, Rachel Klammer won, Jess Learmonth was the second, Bradley Weiss was on the men's side, but there was only a couple pros beyond them. So, that age group are coming in 7th or 8th got $6,000.
And interestingly enough, when I was looking at the table of results, it looks like there was about 500 people registered, but there was only about 90 athletes finished. That is a big DNF rate. So it must be really tough.
Yeah, it was in, where was it? Qatar, I want to say?
Qatar, yeah.
I think that a stage race has to be like every morning. Because, I've done races that were really like hard, tough. And when they're loops, every time you come through the loop, you're like, do I really want to start another loop? And I feel like a stage race would be even worse. Every morning you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, but this wasn't a stage race, though.
Yes, it is.
I think it was.
No, it's 12 hours. No, it's one day.
No. Oh, no, it said it was 6.
But I think they're all like.
Yes, but they only had 12 hours to complete it.
Oh, you think there's
So it's like a swim, bike, run, but instead swimming to run to biking to kayaking to mountain biking to running.
Yeah.
I thought the stages were over multiple days. And then I was like, interesting. Well, then that's, I still think that, then there's probably there's time cutoffs then at each stage, which would be hard to make. Well, we're going to have to find out more. We're going to have Jess Learmonth come on the podcast.
I would love Jess's recap of this, for sure. It will be a good one.
Yes. There was also, there's not a ton of news happening in triathlon. Let's be real. It's been very slow January, but there was some news the last 2 weeks that we haven't talked about. First, the 20-meter draft rule. So Ironman is going to be implementing 20 meters of drafting just for the pros. I feel like all the messages I got were immediately from age groupers who then were like, oh, wait, this doesn't apply to me. So it's like, oh, wait, no, it doesn't apply to you. It's only for the pros. And they're implementing it when they put in the new rules, which is in March, right? Like that's when new rules go into
the 1st of March, I think.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Very interesting to see what happens.
I think the biggest challenges are obviously logistical and operational. Like, I don't think anyone was arguing that 20 meters has less impact than 12 meters, right? Like, obviously. And it has more impact for large groups of men because of the speeds and the size they are. Like, that's document. Sure. I think the logistical challenges are going to come when you have age group men mixing in with the pro women who are on a 12 meter, but then they're on a 20 meter. I think that's where we're going to be a little confusing. And how much does it, when you have those really, really big groups and now they're on 20 meter, what happens? Does somebody just have to stop? So I think we'll just, because I know we've seen it in T100, but we haven't seen it in the larger.
No, it's a good point with the age groupers having different rules than the pros, especially because that just seems tricky.
Do you remember? Oh, did you ever race one of those races
Yes.
where we had the stagger rule, and then you were mixing with the age group? And
It was one of the
it
reasons
was so
why I
confusing.
think that like non-draft is actually more mentally challenging, because you're like, at that point it was the stagger rule, and I was like, I don't even understand what this is anymore. But now it's simple, a little more simple.
Because then like the age groupers didn't have to
Mm.
stagger, but you had to stagger off of them, so it was very confusing. Joanne's like,
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing,
Anyway.
though. I think hopefully it will make the racing fairer across the board for the pros, and might make the racing a bit more interesting when it comes down to the run course then as well, because the bike packs mightn't be as big, or maybe they will be as big, and there'll be a lot more running room and room to have to run to catch up with the person that's up the front. Yeah.
Sure. I know that's like the general opinion, and I think it certainly will change the dynamics. Like, obviously, it'll benefit bikers more. But I am sort of the opinion that, like, I don't think it's fairer or not fairer. It's just a rule, right? Like, the 3-point line in basketball isn't fair or not fair. It's just where it is, and you either are good at that or you're not, right? Like, this is just going to benefit different people than benefited before. Like, rules exist in all sports. They're like, so that's where I'm sort of like, whatever. I do think it might make it
if you're going to call it non-draft, though, like, you should be out of it, like, draft zone. So that's why I think.
Yeah.
But then, Katie, couldn't it all?
I argue the opposite. It should all just be draft.
Can you imagine how long it'd take us to
worry about it, because everybody's. but I do think, just from some of the perspectives I've heard from pros, like, most of them are on board with it, and also just being really like, across the board, it's a 20 meter. So like now T100 Ironman, everything's consistent, rather than being like, well, here I can do this and here I can do like, I don't know. I feel like that gets confusing.
Yeah.
That does get confusing. So.
If you were racing, racing, Kelly, would you prefer to be a 20-meter rule or a 12-meter rule?
I wouldn't care, because it like would not affect me, because of like how being in the middle of the pro women's field plays out. Like, you're almost always by yourself, and your biggest issue is age group men. So like, it wouldn't, like, you see what I mean? So for me, like, it would just be like, okay, which is honestly like what I was hearing from like all the pros. I was like, okay, like, whatever. Like, I like, it doesn't, they don't really care. And I'm sure if it logistically doesn't work out, everyone will be super cool and chill and like,
do you think?
Be able to go back. Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, the good thing is, though, that Ironman have said that they will continue to chat with the athletes and get the feedback from the athletes. And I think that conversation and that communication is very important. With this. And if we're moving on, if I can just move backwards, is the Samla race was a 1-day stage race on the 24th of January, and it was a strict enforced 12-hour cutoff. So it was basically just hit the gun and off you go.
But now I'm very curious. About like calling it a stage race, because stages infers like stopping in between.
But I don't think it was called a stage race. There was just like.
But that is what they're calling
stages.
It on their thing. Well, then we're gonna have to see this. We're gonna have to find Jess.
Okay.
We're gonna have to, because it makes more sense, like you guys are saying, start to finish. But then I'm like, maybe this is an English translation issue. Maybe it wasn't.
Well,
stages.
To be fair, you were the only one who thought it was different days.
Well, it says stages, and stages implies, it says stage 1, stage 2.
But it says 100K non-stop, point-to-point endurance challenge.
Fine, yeah.
Must be completed with a strict 12-hour cutoff.
If someone told me something was a 6-stage race,
I think I'm used to it. Like, Super Tri was always stages, and like, that's all the same day. I mean, granted, that takes 20 minutes, not 8 hours, but you know. The vocabulary is in sync.
The same. See, I'm thinking like bike racing.
Oh, yeah.
Or those like crazy multi-day running things. And I'm like, well, of course stages. Anyway, Super Tri also had an announcement today as we're recording this. They finally announced their pro calendar for this year. There will be 4 races. They didn't announce the final yet. And I gotta say, I think maybe kids, I really thought, I thought it was going to be worse. I thought they were really going to get rid of it. It's not teams anymore. It's not the Super Tri format anymore. It's like not what you think. Like, if you're thinking Super Tri, it's not that. It is just going to be sprint draft legal races at their 4 of their existing age group mass participation
I believe so. So they're not even doing, so will the final be the same? I know they're releasing more information as like just in the oh my gosh, what did they send out? Well, in the future, press release. That's what I'm going for. I was like, in the future. Release? Yeah, that's great. That'll work. But it is really like very different from the traditional, like what they've been doing so far with Super Try. I think some parts is like I'm kind of for the no teams aspect of it. I like it going back into individuals, but I'm just hoping that it still holds its same like competitiveness. I feel like last year it was kind of a little bit, they weren't getting everybody at all the races, so it was a little like watered down at some, which I feel like is a issue that we're having in a lot of the different series that are happening. But I like the part of the pros and the age groupers being intertwined. Like I really like that aspect of it.
Because I had heard, they were just going to have kind of like a pro wave in front of their age group. I thought that it was literally just going to be, in front of the age groupers, but it sounds like they're still going to keep the draft legal sprint, which is like obviously good for the athletes who are trying to use this to like practice for the Olympics, or develop for the Olympics. A non-draft race doesn't do them as much good.
And having draft legal racing in the U.S.
And it's going to be...
Well, there is,
but it's not going to be in the U.S., right? Well, because it's so it's Austin, Texas, Blenheim Triathlon in the UK, Toronto, and then they haven't announced where their final is yet. But I assume it'll be one of their big races that they bought,
and it's the biggest one-day prize purse, right?
Right, currently, I guess, because obviously in the days of high V, there was a much bigger one-day prize purse.
Back in the day.
Back in the days of the high V triathlon. Back in the day. All right, guys, we are going to talk to our expert today, Dr. Iris Nafshi. So she did her dissertation on moms training for Ironman, and she picked that primarily because just as like a marker of the amount of time and effort it takes. And then she really wanted to focus on moms who experience high levels of guilt, because she wanted to find out how they get through that, right? Like not that you have to have guilt, but what is required to get past that and continue training for Ironman. So she told me all about her dissertation, and let's hear from her. All right, welcome Iris Nafshi. I should say Dr. Iris Nafshi, since you just finished your dissertation on Iron Moms. What does that mean? What did you study? What was the title of your whole, analysis?
Yes, thank you for having me. That's exciting to join the Feisty community. I had a dream. I remember when I reached 40, a couple of dreams that I want to still achieve. And two of them were to complete a doctoral degree. That was my dream for many years, and to do a triathlon. And I was lucky enough to combine the two topics and study Iron Moms. One of the things that you get as a guidance as a doctoral student is to find a topic that you're very passionate about and you care deeply, because you're going to get so bored by the data, by the articles, right? All the journal studies and literature review you need to do. And I had many ideas on what to study, but I kept going back to Iron Moms. And throughout the doctoral degree, I did many papers, if you will, around this topic, and it just kept grabbing me. So, the lack of diversity in triathlon, grit, and I took it into the leadership, because that's kind of my occupation outside of being an Iron Mom, is leadership and executive development. So I studied that, and I kept going back to resilience, grit, and studying all this phenomenon. And so I decided to understand better the Iron Mom population. When I say Iron Mom, I refer specifically to mothers who train and race a full Ironman length. Now, obviously, you get mixed racers, some doing 70.3 and 14.0. Many actually, I will talk a little bit about data in a bit. Many are doing full and then they need a break. So they'll go back to 70.3. But everyone on my study had to be training right now for a full Ironman. And so Iron moms are those moms that are competing and training for it. And for me, the question was, I remember when I was training for a full Ironman, I felt that it's such a lonely, could be lonely, selfish, and I felt guilt for pursuing this dream. Yes, I did. And I'm not by saying that every woman should feel guilty, but there were a lot of moments that I felt guilt that I had to, when my kids say, can we go tomorrow to the ocean? I said, no, my mommy has a long run. So can we go today? No, today I have a long ride, right? And it's been a couple of months like this that I've been saying it because I chose a summer race. Good idea. And so I was trying to understand, not coming from the assumption that all women experience guilt, but for those who do, and I'll explain in a second how I selected them, I said, if they're training for an Ironman and they self-rate high on guilt and they persist, what is it that they do that allows them? And now I'm going to take a step back and say I reached out to communities.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you, obviously, you talked, we're going to get into what you found, but how did you go about even starting to study that? Do you just put a post on Facebook, or how do you find all the moms? Yeah.
Excellent question. I'll even take a step back. When you do a doctoral degree, you want to ask a question that I don't want to say hasn't been asked before, but that your answers will add to the scholarly discussion, right? And so when you go into a library of journal and books in your university, and you try to type Iron Moms or Ironman and triathlon and motherhood, the only thing that comes up, is mothers or with iron deficit after giving birth.
Sure.
Now, there is studies, I want to be clear here, there are studies about triathletes or endurance athletes, professional. There are studies around that. There are studies about women, endurance athletes, again, mostly pro athletes, returning to competing after giving birth. But there is nothing out there about the amateur. An amateur, I'm talking about anyone who is not getting paid or sponsored, which is many of us, right? So the amateur triathlete out there that is balancing motherhood, potentially working full-time. In my study, 350 women, 67% of them were working full-time. Mm-hmm. So it's not kind of a nice to have mommy stay at home when the kids are at daycare, I train. A lot of them are carrying what's called in the literature the third shift. First shift is working, second shift is coming back and being a mom, and third shift is being an athlete. And so I became curious about this population. In order to answer this, I reached out on every Facebook group that I could possibly, a group specifically around women in triathlon, pathetic triathlon group.
Right.
Each races, I went to each Ironman race across the world and let me take a step back and say, at the beginning, the research was focused on US residents only. Why? Because as a researcher, you want to control the noise if you can. And in different countries, there's different maternity leave.
I would think that would be complicated. Yeah. It's very varied between Europe and the US and Australia. And
absolutely. Even Canada, right?
Yes.
And so I put it out there and immediately I started getting back requests. Can you expand the study? Can we participate in Canada? And so what I'm about to say right now just shows the level of interest and need of these women to be heard, because their voices are not heard. Within days, I got to 100. Within a week, I was already at 200 responses. And so I asked my doctoral committee, if I can expand the study. And they said, you know what, at this point, sure, because we didn't even think we're going to get 100. So at 200, we expanded, and I ended up with overall, those who completed, because some people left in the middle, but overall completed 350 people, 291 from the US and 59 international. And so definitely the reach out on Instagram and Facebook was helpful. I asked on my Instagram page, not that I'm that an influencer, but I had, friends share it, post it, let other people know. And they did. And the women, Iron moms out there definitely came running fast.
Right.
So that was exciting. First of all, just to talk, when I talked about some research surprises, that was one of them. The fact that those women are so eager to make their voice heard, their experiences heard. These women that consented to the study completed a demographic survey online, about their age, education. So I can share some of this. I think you will be surprised. The audience will be surprised to know, for example, how educated this audience is, and ages of the kids, how many kids. And then they completed 2 questionnaires that are validated in the literature. One is called the GRIT questionnaire. I can talk a little bit about GRIT and what it is in a bit. That's the Angela Duckworth questionnaire. And then the parental guilt questionnaire. And then a couple of other open-ended questions at the end on what is your why, if you quit or took a break, why, what are you training for right now, things like that I was able to analyze as well. And I'm going to dive into the data if you want, or
give us an overview of, just because, like you said, or you were telling me before, we don't even really necessarily have any data on moms in triathlon because it's not something that's been. It's not something you check when you sign up for a race, right? So what did you find out? Who are the moms in triathlon?
Exactly. And remember, maybe we have data overall in the Triathlon USA organization, but that is a mix of all the races out there. My audience was those who are training for full Ironman, did one and currently training for another one. And so I'm going to look at the data because it's a lot, but I will say this. In terms of ages, the majority, 31%, are ages 40 to 44, and 30% are ages 45 to 49.
So mostly in their 40s.
Mostly in the 40s, which is, again, if you pause for a second, this is really complicated age to race because you have the double bind, you're caring for your kids, you're developing your career, and in some event a little bit later, closer to the 45, 49, is where you start also caring for elderly parents. And so the pressure is significant, at least at the 45 to 49. So that was interesting to see kind of the chunk of ages. And of course, there's other distribution, but I'm going to go after the big ones. I thought it's not surprising, and we can talk about diversity in triathlon. I did this whole study around that for men and women, but 84.4 were white, very low diversity. Surprised me that I'm curious to ask you, what do you think is the in terms of degrees, what would be the highest, the percentage with the highest amount of women?
Oh, I don't know, but I am sure it is high. This is an educated bunch.
Very educated. Yeah. So you'll be surprised. I mean, I think I was surprised that 39% had a master's degree, 35% had bachelor degree, and 20% had a PhD, which I thought was
that's a lot of people with the PhD.
Yeah. Doctoral degree, 20.3. So that's a lot of people.
I'd be curious, out of all of your stats that you found, not to go super in the weeds on stats, but how I would think, my gut would be that most of their kids were older, right? Because it is very tough, I think, when they're under 5. But tell me what you found.
The majority of them have 2 kids, 46%, and 23%, so 23% have 3 kids. So 2 to 3 kids, that's a lot to juggle. Yeah. And we're going to talk about this in a second because there was a difference between what I found in the quantitative study with the numbers and then the qualitative that I did. It's worth taking a step back and saying I did a mixed method, which means I had first the surveys fill out online, and then I used the surveys to select my audience of people that I want to interview that were self-scored high on grit. And then I had in-depth interviews with them. So we're going to talk about kids in a second and ages. In terms of ages, to answer your question, the 52.4 ages 12 to 17.
Sure.
And 38% ages 8 to 11. And 27% 4 to 7.
It sounds like it's very hard under 4.
And 19% has 0 to 3. I want to say something about this because I think it's important. In the data, when I looked at, I made some hypotheses. I thought, well, if you have younger kids, your level of guilt will be higher. If you have higher kids, potentially your level of grit will be lower because you can't focus on that right now, right? And in the data, the statistical testing that I've done, there was no correlation between guilt and grit, which means, let me explain to the audience. First of all, grit, what it means is passion and perseverance for long-term goals. It's a term that Angela Duckworth created. She coined it. And the reason I chose it, I said, well, what else could describe a mindset of endurance training other than grit? Right? Sure. It's the passion, perseverance for long-term goal. And I wanted to check that. Spoiler alert, that's not the only thing. When I did my defense on my dissertation, one of my professors asked, what is one sentence you will say to summarize your study? And I said, grit is not enough.
No,
it's not enough. And that's what I'm going to talk about. This is the other things that I found that are so important for Iron moms. So there was no correlation between grit and guilt. What does it mean? It means that you could be doing Ironmans for 20 years and you still have high level of guilt. Maybe because this is how you're wired. Maybe because this is how you're culturally, raised. Maybe it's the family that you're living with right now. And maybe, it could be many, many reasons. And there wasn't any correlation between guilt and grit and number of kids. Support at home, whether you have supported or not, which I have also data on that. A lot of them have support at home. This seemed to be a crucial component. And the one of the few correlations that I found is that in the US, not in the global population, in the US only, there was a correlation between guilt and kids ages 7 and under, which I think that's what you were going after a little bit. And guilt could play tags with these women's time, emotion, span of, what they can give out of themselves. So remember, age 0 to 7, that was a positive correlation. However, in the interviews, it was really interesting to hear moms told me, when the kids were younger, it was easier because I was able just to, if I leave for 2 hours or for 4, they don't know. They don't understand. But now when the kids are 7, 11, they ask, Mommy, are you going to come to my game today? Mom, are you going to come and watch me playing? Mom, will you be there? Are you traveling with us? And so the kids are able to verbalize their wants and needs from the parents, from the mom, and now they want her and they can tell her. So that was interesting to hear that even though the statistical data said one thing, the reality of what was happening was a little bit different. It's actually, I guess the message out there is when the kids go older, it's actually becoming more difficult for some.
Well, from a guilt perspective, right? I think from a kids not going to die if you leave perspective, yes, it's probably easier, right? Yeah. So you obviously were primarily studying guilt, the issue of guilt, not necessarily the issue of, like you mentioned, postpartum, physical recovery or childcare or, right? You weren't focused on those other, you were primarily focused on this emotional and mental aspect.
So it's a yes or no. Okay. What I try to do is to read all the literature that is out there and understand the global, I guess, perspective, the ecosystem of what's happening inside and outside. And I created a model that pulls together all the data that we have. And yes, in my study, in my literature review, there is everything that is written about even professional triathletes returning after injury or after postpartum, right? Because it does tell us something about motherhood. In my model, something that a lot of times we talk with athletes or we hear coaches talk with athletes just about their internal world. What is their why? What drives them? What habits they put in place so that they can stay consistent and move on. That's a really important component. But another important component is the outside world. And there's two parts to it. The one on the left in my model is the societal expectations. Societal expectations, there is out there in the literature. And I did have in my study across all the audience, women said they're feeling guilty. Not everyone, but many of them are.
Sure.
So this whole narrative around good enough mom, the good mother, the super mom, these are all areas of study in the literature. And so moms are negotiating or rejecting. What is the definition of being a good mom? Good enough mom, super mom, right? And then negotiating with the society. Just today, I got pissed off, right? Because I got feisty.
Okay.
I'm going to look at my phone because I want to. Someone in my university posted a book. Not going to name names, but it was all about rethinking female landscape and calling deeper societal and policy level support for mothers during the most critical years of the child development. And the point was there, mother presence is important. It's critical. We need to do something as a society. Don't get me wrong. I agree. And at the same time, narratives like this that are not balancing the needs of the mother to become her own person, this is where guilt begins. Oh, I need to be present. So if I go and write for 5 hours,
my kid's going to be stupid and maybe a murderer. Right.
They're going to be on screen time, and screen time is correlated to, lower level of verbal communication.
ADHD and yeah.
By the way, there's a meta-analysis that shows that all of this is crap. But
I have my own feelings, opinions about this, but yes, there's certainly the narrative is high.
We have the narrative out there that you need to fight, either reject or accept, right?
Sure.
Or negotiate with it. What does it means to me? And then there's the other side of support, which is it could be what you're getting at home. It's very important. But also it could be support doesn't have to look always like the partner. It's, the club that you belong to, the community, or even online that you're listening to while you're training and getting inspiration from. It could be your sister that trains with you. It could be a gym that you're going to and you do strength training and that helps you stay consistent, right? So that support system is critical, and everyone mentioned it in all the interviews. So again, there's the outside world that Ironman live in is the societal expectation and then the type of support that they get. And if they remember what I said about the left side, either they reject it or negotiate it. With the support, they either accept it or negotiate it. Sure. So they accept the support from home, they accept the support of the coach, they accept the support of the triathlon club, or they negotiate. I need more, I need less, etc. And then becomes the internal world, right? So I wasn't honing specifically on guilt, but I said if those women who feel guilty, so guilty, and I'll explain in a second how I found them, are able to persist. That was the key, persisting. What is it that they're doing that we can learn from the world? So first of all, I went after their reasoning on why are they doing it? What is the internal reasons? I got 350 answers to verbal answers to why are you doing what you're doing. And I want to share it here with you, the table that came up. And so 61% are doing this for personal challenge. So they answered in verbatim, and I had coded all those answers and found out the different reasons. 61% are doing it for personal challenge. The next big thing after, I wanted to ask you if you have any idea why moms are doing Ironmans.
I mean, there's a lot of talk about like being a good example for their kids.
Exactly. You nailed it.
I don't love that as a reason, but it's out there.
Me too. I want to tell you that when I started, not their reason, but I thought that I'm doing it as a role model. And later, as I evolved, I actually removed that from my internal system because I thought it's too much pressure to put on them. I'm not doing it for them. What if they don't take anything out of what I do? Then what? I failed in my experience. I'm doing it for myself.
Sure.
If they learn something out of it, good for them. But I don't judge anyone who do it for role modeling. But yes, this is almost half of the Iron moms are doing it to role model. And it could be also, again, about the ages of the kids, etc. Then the next two reasons, and I'll stop there, that are close to each other while women are doing it. 25% are doing it for physical health and longevity. So I combined here. It could be I want to look thin, I want to look strong. It's not so much thin, but I want to look strong, I want to look better. And then longevity, I don't want to get older and get weaker. I saw my mom, succumbing to obesity or things like that, right? And close to that, 22 is self-empowerment and transformation. So just wanting to become a better version of myself, etc. That was really interesting to understand their why. And I also looked at reason why they stopped, if they stopped, which is also interesting.
What is, that would be why.
I'll tell you.
I could have my guesses, but why do people stop if they stop?
Yeah. By the way, years of experience, just so you know, that surprised me. Years of experience, 30% had 6 to 10 years of experience, and 24, the next big number after that, 24%, 10 to 15 years of experience. Yeah. So doesn't mean they used to be athletes. Some do, but they've definitely been in the game of endurance, running marathon, half marathons, etc. Not always Ironman, but being active. So reasons. The biggest reason, which I think is a really important point for race organizers, for the people who are managing, the work behind Ironman and or alike, as well as coaches, is the need a break from intense training. I don't know if sport medicine will evolve. I definitely see a lot of discussion about, training plan for busy people. You don't have to train as much, but obviously you don't want to shortcut some of the training, but there needs to be some type of probably way to think about how do you modify the training in a way that doesn't break people. But the intense training, 45.7% said this was the reason. Not globally, interestingly enough. Globally, only 14%. The second reason was difficulty balancing training and motherhood / parenthood. So 37% and more in the global audience, 43%. That was the biggest two things, and time constraint. So the third one was 31% time constraint due to work and other responsibilities. So notice there's one that I asked or coded specifically around parenting. That was 37%. And then the conflict, time constraint with work or other responsibilities is 31%. So that is the intense training and the other.
It's like I'm thinking about this right now because, like I told you as we started, I have an 11-month-old, and people are always asking me and my husband, because he's actually training way less than I am these days, and they're always like, "Oh, is it because you have a baby?" And it's like, no, it's because his job is shitty. Like, there's the other factor, but obviously it all intertwines.
You're bringing a great point. When I created my evidence-based model, I put in the center a rubric cube. And it was inspired by one of the participants who said to me, it's like a rubric cube that my husband and I sit every night, the night before, and we turn it, and we plan. And it's not just a set kind of, it's not about, this is something that I want to emphasize here. I love, obviously, the book Atomic Habits. I love the idea of neuroscience and having habits that you follow every day and then you don't question yourself. That's one way, but it's not the only way that you can explain, because when you think about support or no support, when you think about societal expectation, what the narrative is telling you about being a good mom, habits don't explain all of it. And so what I found in the study, and that's kind of, I think what's groundbreaking, is I looked at the whole picture. We're human, we're complicated. My degree is in human development. And so we're complicated human beings. There is no one book that you can read and you're like, oh, there you go. That's what you need to do to just nail everything the society is telling you, and also your internal demons. And also, it's complicated. However, this is what I found. In addition to their internal drivers, which I mentioned them, it's the need to do something challenging, to be a role model, right? These are the internal drivers why I do what I do. And they're turning those who feel guilt, turning guilt as a superpower, if you will, to create two things. One, I call it psychological strategies, and I'll say them in a second. And the other part is behavioral strategies. So habits, creating a habit is a behavioral strategy. Mm-hmm. Another behavioral strategy that I heard those moms are using is flexibility and adaptability. So they'll say when it comes to flexibility is they'll say something like, you know what, I have a long bike ride. Why won't I wake up at 6? I'll ride there. I should be there at 10. Come with the kids. There's an ice cream place. We'll all meet for ice cream.
Sure.
You guys go home. I'll ride back. There's not, there is one research about Iron dads. Iron dads don't do that.
No.
They wake up early. It's really important for them. They're working really hard to the researchers that studied Iron dads call it the visibility continuum. They're trying to be visible for the kids, or to do things with the kids, like run with them or bike with them. But when they have the intense training, they tend to either do it very early in the morning or late at night, right? Moms, this is the flexibility part again. They'll tell me, I go to my child's training, and while they're playing soccer, I'll run in circles around, or I'll bring my bike, my trainer, and there's a gym there, and I can connect it from the outside, and I can ride the trainer, right? So they're being very creative. That's the flexibility, but also adaptable. If the child is sick, if there's a parent-teacher conference, if they want to join, a field trip, they'll move their trainings around. They'll sometimes do 2 days, they'll skip a training, and then they'll do 2 the next day. Not recommended, but that's what they do in order to make it happen. So these are some behaviors. It's the things we do, right, in order to sustain and persist. But there's also the things we are thinking. Right. So I call it the being and the doing. So the doing we just discussed. The being, I looked at my study I said, grit is not enough. Grit doesn't explain it. So what else? There is a psychological framework. It's called psychological capital. So think about it almost like a capital that you have in your head in order to handle difficult things. And it's funny, I always smile because not only we're dealing with the world of Ironman, now I'm bringing in a framework that is called the hero.
Okay.
Ironman and hero, right? And this is where our moms are playing. This is their playing field. So the hero brings together 4 areas of discipline, studies that are well known out there, but they're bringing it all together to say, this is like a human capital that you have as a person, as an individual, if you hone on all 4. So hero stands for hope, being hopeful, seeing, bright future, knowing that you will be able to achieve your goal no matter what, hope. E stands for efficacy, self-efficacy. So this is the confidence in my ability. I can do it. I know that on my bike, I have the stickers that I can and I will. I keep saying to myself, I can and I will, self-efficacy. Hero, R, stands for resilience. So resilience is different than grit and mental toughness, and I can go into this in a second. Resilience is all about how am I able to bounce back from difficult experiences. It's usually based on difficult experience we had in the past, of failing or things didn't go so well, what we learned from it, and then we know we have the power within us to overcome it. So that's resilience. And the O in the hero stands for optimism. Sounds a little bit like hope, but it's a little bit better. Optimism is you're injured and you're going to get over it. Right? So hero. And I added one more thing that I found in Iron Moms, and I think this is the superpower they're bringing from their being mothers, and it's called self-compassion. So I added S at the beginning of the hero, and now I called it she-ro. Self-compassion, it's the ability, just like how to talk to your younger child and say, it's okay, tomorrow will be a better day, you're not, you didn't fail, you can try again and you will succeed. It's the ability to talk to yourself in that way, and just not to be harsh. Many athletes fall to the Strava.
Sure. I think we talked about that on this podcast last episode, about the comparison and all the mental traps people fall in.
Right, it's a mental trap. Someone just asked me, she's building an app for triathlete moms, and she told me something about Strava and how it takes her down. I said, I haven't looked at Strava for over a year. I just don't look at it. It captured the data in case I want to go back and look at something. But I said, you know what? Who even has the time to sit down and watch what other people are doing after you train for an Ironman? Like, all I care about is to eat and rest, right?
Sure.
I don't have time to see your pace and what did you do. It's a mental trap. trap. I agree with you.
So when you, sorry, just to kind of get to what I'm sure our listeners are curious, when you then, interviewed all these people who were high on guilt, but they persisted, what techniques, like how did they persist, right? What can our listeners take away from this that they can then, use?
Yes, excellent question. This is exactly what I'm trying to understand. There is no one thing you will be able to do, like habits. Just have habits and just have a coach and you'll be able to do it. Right. Just have a train. No. This is why I'm saying it's a complicated ecosystem that you need to understand and give. You know how we say as athlete Ironman, respect the distance? Mm-hmm. Respect the moms. It's complicated. Respect the moms. It's complicated. It's not one thing that you'll tweak and you'll be able to maybe improve the system, but it's a couple of things. So pay attention. This is moms. I'm talking to you now. Pay attention to the social narrative that you're hearing and listening and consuming. You can negotiate it and say, that is not in my playbook. I am not listening and I'm not buying it. I'm a good enough mom, right? So that's one thing. Then you have the social, I'm doing it because this is how my model is built. Then you have the social support. Whether you need to negotiate with your husband, whether you need to hire a coach, whether you need to join a triathlon club, maybe you just find a friend to train with, whatever it is that you can do to find the social support to help you, it's critical. And it came consistently. In my study, it was about the spouse support or lack of. Mm-hmm. I can tell stories about lack of and what it does to moms, right? Crucial. And then once you understand the outside world, comes the inner world. I would say I'm developing. So I said that in my outside world, I am a leadership and executive development facilitator. In my most recent role, I was the global head of leadership development at Microsoft. And so my goal would be, one of the things to do other than write a book and do a podcast is also to create workshops for women, Iron moms. And one of the things I'll say here that is key is to spend time with your coach, with yourself, is to understand your values. What are the things that are critical and important to you? Is it integrity? Is it family time? Is it role modeling? Whatever it is, there's a list of words out there. Just go to ChatGPT and ask, generate for me 40 words of values. Sit down and circle the top 5. And then you want to spend time on your why. Why are you doing this? Because everyone who did Ironman knows this, that there will be those dark places where you ask yourself, why are you doing this? Right? So you have to remember your why. Put it in a sticker, put it in your pain cave. I had it burned in my head. Could be because you want to be a role model. It could be because you want to get stronger. It could be because you're fighting mental demon. It doesn't matter what. You need to know your why and spend time carving it. You want your why and your values to align. Mm-hmm. Right? And once you create that, then you start utilizing the strategies I talked about. There's the mindset. Am I practicing hope? Am I practicing self-efficacy, confidence in myself? Am I being resilient, right? Am I being self-compassionate with myself? And then there's the that's the mindset stuff. And then there's the behavioral stuff, right? The adaptability and flexibility. Am I being flexible? Do I move things around? Or am I being really strict? And, it's even things like, this was key to me. I hope half of the listeners are getting like their, like the money in the machines at the Vegas. Right, they're like spinning. I am the type of person, and I'm not a type A, but when it comes to training, it's really important for me. I feel good when it's like becomes green dot instead of red, right, or the orange one. It's like driving me crazy. So here's how my brain works. I'm sure half of the listeners are the same. Let's say it's 3 and I have only now finished my work day and I have an hour to do an hour run, but I need to take my son at 4 to drums. I'm going to go on right now on the treadmill and run only for 40 minutes and then shower and change my clothes, and then I'm going to have a red dot. I'll do it tonight. That's what I say to myself. Well, tonight something else happened. Someone got sick, the dog ate something, right? There's always something in the household. So tomorrow I'm going to do an hour run and an hour bike, right? But and this is how you start to accumulate guilt, personal guilt for being behind, injuries because you're overloading, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll say this. What I learned from the Iron Moms that was unbelievable to me is this mindset of something is better than nothing.
Right.
Do 10 minutes. Do 10. Do 15. It's better than nothing. But my brain wasn't working this way, and it was a huge eye-opener. This is one of the reasons they persist. They don't miss out. And if they miss out, they will use, self-compassion and hope to just move on. They know that this is a day in a chapter, very, very thick chapter that they're reading right now. It was one line, right? So keeping that perspective and that light mindset, adaptable mindset of something is better than nothing was huge.
Yeah, no, I believe that. You were telling me that story, and I was like, no, get on the treadmill, do 40 minutes. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. And I'm sure people want to know more, so we will put in the show notes, how to find more information about this, I know you're working on writing more and sharing more out there. So
yeah, I would love to hear from listeners what else they would like to know about Iron Moms and what could help them to become more consistent and show up as moms and athletes.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the time.
Okay, Katie, here's my question for you. After hearing all of that from I was going to say Iris, and I was like, Dr. Nafshi. So you do experience like a lot of guilt around training, right? And like leaving your kid, or no?
Okay.
I don't identify with this, so I'm trying to understand.
The first one was we had Kimball, and I came back to like racing after having Kimball to try and qualify for Paris, and I didn't have mom guilt so much then because I just brought him everywhere and literally just tried to do both. And I don't think I did it I think I did really well with Kimball being a mom, so I didn't have guilt, but definitely didn't hit the same focus in triathlon that I had before. And now it was a big reason I retired because I just couldn't see myself being able to balance both without feeling like I wasn't giving Kimball and Josie what they needed. And here we are. Now I'm struggling with it being a recreational athlete, a mom, and working. So it definitely resonates.
Yeah, but you added working. I will say, I think that is the other thing in your difference here. A full-time job is also.
I always thought, as a professional athlete, when you're just a professional, even for when you're going with your own goals, no family, it's so easy because that's your job, right? You wake up every morning, you swim, bike, run. And then when you look at people doing it all, you're just, and even before I was trying to do that myself, I was in awe of everybody else because I was ours is easy. This is our job. But the people who are working, having a family and balancing training, it's hard. And I haven't figured it out yet for this side of things. So
I will say I liked what she had to say though about the things, that it takes multiple levels, right? It takes both your mental framework and then also literally the external world, right? Your support system, whether that's a significant other or a club or how, right? And it takes, so it's not just oh, I'm going to be tough. It takes planning and support and how you view yourself, all those kinds of things.
Rewarding, being able to do it with your kids, as a mom. So right. I think sometimes that if you can have that in your mind, it's a motivation for you, in training to kind of overcome that guilt. As this is a journey for the whole family, not just yourself, but also yourself. It's all encompassing. Mm-hmm.
I thought one of the things that was interesting was that, and obviously I'm not a mum, so I don't get the mom guilt.
I don't either.
As in I understand it, but I don't obviously get it. Is that it persisted regardless of the level of experience of the triathlete, the number of children, or the household support that was there? So it didn't matter what was happening around the mum that was being interviewed, the guilt was still there. All the time.
It's funny because Tommy's always go for a run. Yeah. He's always telling me, he's very supportive of me going and chasing whatever dreams I have right now. And I'm I run
The Safla 100. That's your new dream. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be quite the couch to competition. But like,
There we go. There's the tagline for Katie's year. Couch to competition.
But yeah, I feel like it has to come from within, like, to be able to overcome like guilt feeling. And I don't know if I ever felt the guilt either. It was just I couldn't figure out the right composition, or balance of things.
Mm.
And if I can ask a question, is there something to be said for potentially overcoming the guilt by doing the exercise? Now, I know this is specific to Ironman training and women who are training for Ironman who are mums, because it's very specific. It's very different to sprint or Olympic training or marathon training, whatever. Training for an Ironman is extremely difficult. But is there something to be said for, I'm a better mom because I got out to get out on my bike, or I got to go for a run, or I got to go for a swim and hang out with my friends for 20 minutes and have a coffee before I came back home to doing life as a full-time mom, a full-time worker, and training for an Ironman? Is that something, or am I?
Oh, I think it definitely is. I mean, I will say I have kept, this will be shocking to you all, I've kept most of my opinions to myself in the momming world because people don't have the same opinion I do. And so I keep a lot of my thoughts to myself, and I'm not going to judge like what other people think. But that also means that there's probably a lot of people out there that think the same thing I think in my head and don't. And I basically think I'm still my own person, just like I hope my kid is his own person and has his own, wants to do. So I still want to do things just because I want to do them. I still want to have like my own life and my own stuff. And I hope he learns that. But I'm not doing it because I hope he learns that. I just also hope that he has his own life and his own stuff, right? And they don't have to be connected. Like, it doesn't have to be like, he's going to learn this from me. It shouldn't just be like, I want to do this. Like, that's fine. So I think to your point, Joanne, it is valuable to still go out and be a whole person and put your own mask on first, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's what they say, isn't it?
And I think just the perspective.
That's what they say.
Is the whole thing. Like, however you perceive it, like, there's a lot of ways to perceive it. You can perceive it as being guilty, or you can perceive it as doing something for yourself, or you can perceive it as like them like being on an adventure. Like the year we went with Kimball, it was the hardest year of my entire career, but it was also like so cool to like have him be so intertwined with it. And I never really felt like, I didn't ever feel guilty about it, but it was real hard. Like
But then on the other side, did you ever feel that Kimball missed out because you were doing stuff? So then there's not that guilt there because you were giving him a life experience that he probably wouldn't have even remembered if you asked him now when mom was a professional athlete. But it's, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not a mum, so I can't speak to it. But from the outside looking in, it looks like there is a really happy family doing their thing. The kids are involved. The husband's involved. The athlete is the main focus, but everything else is revolving around her and ensuring that she can have her career. And yet it's a family thing now, but that's not always available. And again, in the research that was done, it was predominantly women of a certain age, 40 to 44, I think. And then the kids were up to the age of 7.
Well, they were not 11 months.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they weren't,
Josie
there was like the caveat that comes with the analysis and the data that's there. But definitely was very interesting listening to her. But I think there's probably 6 ways you can skin a cat and 6 ways you can look at the guilt.
That's the hardest part, I think, about like this type of research is just there's so many different feelings around it, and everybody's different, so it's just hard to like quantify that, I feel like.
And nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Sorry, Kelly. Nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Regardless
Some people
of what
are
you feel.
wrong.
Some people are wrong, Kelly.
Some
okay,
people
let's get
are
started.
wrong.
Come on, Kelly. Tell us how you really feel.
Just saying. No, but I was going to say, I will be curious now that Katie has a real job, if she's going to have the thing that I'm sure people listening to this have, that we all have, that you're like, I'm fucking paying someone to watch my kids so I can answer emails. That's when because sure, if you're chasing the Olympics, it all feels worth it. But when you're, screwing around with like a to-do list at like 4 p.m., it does not feel worth it, right? And I think a lot of people have that probably. That comes up.
Kind of, not cushion, but like with coaching, like Kimball Kimball and Josie, like, they were on poolside
Sure.
yesterday during a session. I say, Kimball, you want to come
Right.
coach? So I always feel like it's nice that I have a job that I can still kind of do that. But agreed.
And did he cycle home
That's cool.
afterwards?
No.
Did he cycle home
had his
afterwards?
Paw
Did he ride his
Patrol,
bike?
on the side with a car and some snacks and. But it.
Has he got his own little jacket that says, you know, mini coach? You should really get him like a high vis.
That would be awesome.
But I like
Yeah.
I enjoy like seeing all the families at the races and like I really liked watching how all the different moms do it, you know? Like I always thought that even with World Triathlon, like the athletes who were moms, like we all did it super differently, and it was all really cool to see the different ways and talk to people and get advice of like what you want advice for, and then just do your own thing for what you don't want advice for.
For what you don't want advice for.
That's just like life in general.
Well, yes.
Yeah, there you go. We'll just leave it at that. I had a whole bunch more thoughts to say about it's not that easy to societal structures. But speaking of moms coming back, the Winter Olympics this weekend, one of the things that I've been watching, well, there's a bunch of things. There's a bunch of storylines that like you should be paying attention to. Lindsey Vonn and the 50K in the cross-country skiing. The women get to do it for the first time ever. But there's also two of the top bobsledders are back after having multiple kids. And it's kind of crazy watching them. Alana Meyer, she has like her 3-year-old and her 6-year-old there. It's kind of... And then, like, one of the snowboarders has her 2 kids. It's kind of crazy.
See, and that's the thing that I think I like a lot, is now seeing a lot more moms come back to elite sports or never leave while they're going through.
Yeah.
it.
All right, what else to close us out are you guys, since I was looking at the Olympic stuff, what are you excited about the Olympics coming up? What other things coming up are you excited about?
We have, for a country that doesn't have any snow, we have 4 athletes from Ireland in the Winter Olympics. So I think that is pretty good. I think our largest team one year was maybe 7, but to have 4 is brilliant. So I'm excited to just see it all. I think it was Lucy Gossett shared an Instagram video today of "This will change your opinion of the Winter Olympics." And it was bobsledders and skiers and, oh, holy mother of God, the speed they were going at and watching it. And it was like as if they had put a GoPro on them, and it was amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to just like obsess over all these sports. But yeah, it's going to be cool. Very cold,
really
actually,
good.
Not just cool, very cold.
It's actually apparently for a Winter Olympics, it's relatively warm. Like a few of the cross-country skiers have done like heat training because it's not as cold as like it was in Beijing, you know, because they're going so hard, their core temperatures get like pretty high. So cross-country skiing is the one I'm always into. And Jessie Diggins, it's like, I don't know if everybody knows who Jessie Diggins is. She's like the greatest American skier ever, cross-country. And she's in the world, and this is her last retirement. And it'd be really cool to see her win the women's first ever 50K. Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye out for her.
And Skimo. Skimo is also making its debut.
And what, pray tell, is Skimo?
I like how you both... I feel like you actually know what I'm talking about. When people skin up the mountain and then they ski down, very popular in triathlon circles, particularly in Boulder. Everybody would do it. It's a very like endurance-y athlete thing. I'm sure some of our listeners have done the like putting skins on your skis, hiking up the mountain, and then skiing down. But in the competition venue, they do it very, very fast. So it's like 4 or 5 3-minute rounds where they like are running up, like pulling the skins off their skis and then skiing down, and then they have to do these super fast transitions. But because it's also an endurance sport, there's a few runners and cyclists who have now transitioned into Skimo. It's making its debut at the Olympics. So.
Very cool. What about you, Katie?
You know,
Very cool.
I like just watching it overall, and probably like figure skating has been one of the ones that since I was little was just one of my favorites to watch. And not like no one in particular, just overall.
Just overall.
Amazing.
My kid loves watching it. The music, And the spinning.
It's just like,
he's really into
one
it.
of those sports where I'm just like, this is insane. Like what they're able to do with their bodies on ice.
It is.
And the half pipe, that apparently is supposed to be absolutely insane. So I'm definitely going to be glued to it. I mightn't even turn up next week. Oh, I'm not here. That's true.
Okay. Oh.
Boom.
Boom. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We will include some more information, the link to the full dissertation from Dr. Nafshi if you want to learn more. And Katie and I will be back next week. Joanne will not. Follow us, subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review if you like the podcast.